Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Joree Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Joree is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Joree.
Hi, and welcome back. So this week's episode is going to be a bit of a continuation of last week's, in which I continue to share more of my story, which at the root of it is awareness. And if you've heard me in previous episodes, I think it's all about awareness. I mean, how often do we go through our lives just on that autopilot, just not paying attention, until we finally start receiving signs to test us on whether or not we're being aware. And for me, this was something I started to seek. I was at a place in my life when I didn't know what to do. And I have never been religious, but I was beginning to be open to spirituality. I was beginning to be open to what I just considered to be the universe, the big, grand universe having some greater cosmic intervention that I could possibly learn from. And when my light started going on, that's what that felt like. And I think if you recall from what I was saying, when my light started going on, I started attributing so much meaning to it. And it was almost like a little shrine I had of the universe speaking directly to me, that every time the light went on, I felt this deep comfort, I felt connected, and most importantly, I felt like I was being aware because I was paying attention to this sign, and I was interpreting it in a way that suited me. So if you recall, I had said that my light went on January 2nd, because on January 1st was when the light bulb burnt out. January 2nd, the light went on again. And I recall feeling such relief that my light, in fact, was not going to be off, that my light was still going to shine. However, that was the second to last time that it went on. I think it was much later in that year, maybe in May or something. But the very next day, January 3rd, was my birthday, and I turned 33. And though my light stopped going on, I started getting a different sign. And I can't tell you exactly when it started, but I will tell you I started noticing it with great frequency soon after my birthday. And what I saw was the number 33 coming up everywhere. And so what did that mean? I'd wake up in the middle of the night, I'd look at my phone to see what time it was, or look at the clock, and it would be at the 33. Throughout my day, I would randomly look up at the clock, it would be at the 33. I would be driving and I would look up and notice the cars around me and the license plates, the last two numbers would be 33. And this started happening enough where I started to notice a pattern. I didn't know what it meant. And I remember I was at a friend's house in April, and I have a really good memory, so somehow I can remember the chronology of these dates. However, I was at a friend's house in April, and I kept seeing the number 33 while I was over there. And I thought to myself, well, I'm 33, so this just must be my time. And I'll have to just do a quick aside. I just looked up at my recording as I'm telling this story. And when I just said the words, I'm 33, it was exactly at the 3-minute and 33-second mark. No joke. You can go back and listen to that yourself. So this is what happens. Okay, so I'm at my friend's house. I'm noticing the number 33, and I realize I'm 33. And I had this awareness, oh, this just be my time. And I saw that as a connection to my age and into this awakening I was starting to feel, into this greater awareness I was starting to have about myself, about who I was, who I wanted to be. I was tuning into some greater unhappiness I was feeling in my marriage, some confusion. And like I had said, I was going through this really challenging time, but yet I really felt fantastic. And that was just such a paradox to me. But I thought maybe me seeing this number 33 just meant it was my time. It was the time for me to figure out who I was on my own outside of my marriage. And I didn't even know what that meant. I just knew I had no identity. I just knew that I didn't have a sense of self, and it was craving and searching and needed to find it. So for many months, the 33s continued, and I just kept thinking, okay, it's my time. It's my time. Not really sure what that even meant. So that summer, we went on a family vacation, and it was a very long trip. It was about a 16-day trip, and it culminated in a cruise and Disney World, and it started off in New York. So it was a long trip. And this was at a time in my marriage where it was challenging and it was difficult to be on this long trip together, but we survived. We made it through. And on the cruise, it was my first time ever on a cruise. And so, when you go to your meals, you get seated at the same table every night. Well, one of the days for lunch, we went to one of the nice restaurants. And so they seat you. And we get seated. Can you guess what number table? We get seated at table number 33. And this restaurant was huge. I mean, we were on a cruise, right? So I remember I took a picture sitting in like the little window of the cruise, what are those round windows, and I'm holding the table number 33 because, again, it just became this joke of, oh, there it is again. And as we're walking out of the restaurant, I asked the maitre d' how many tables there were in the restaurant because I was curious what the odds were. Well, there was 155 tables. I thought, wow, that's pretty remarkable that we happened to be at 33. So we come back from this cruise, and my daughters and I were taking a drive. We were going to go meet my mom for lunch. And very, very last minute, my daughters asked if they can go visit their old preschool. They wanted to say hi to their teachers. So I made the detour, texted my mom that we're going to be a few minutes late and she can just walk and shop around until we meet her. And it was a very short drive from the preschool to where we were going for lunch, maybe at most 2 miles. And we're driving down the street and I'm having just this really unsettling thought and deep confusion of what am I going to do with my life? I didn't know what to do about my marriage. I loved my family and we had really such a perfect life in so many ways. And I just was so confused and didn't know how to make sense of what I was feeling and didn't know how to make sense of what to do about that. And I remember driving, and again, this was like a 2-mile drive that I'm having these thoughts. And in the midst of this moment of what I considered to be really one of the first really deep questionings of what the hell do I do with my life? I look up and there's a car next to me and its license plate was the number 6, which in California at that time, all license plates started with the number 6. It was the letters JTR, which are my initials, and the numbers 033. Because in California, that's always the formula of a license plate. It's a number, 3 letters, three more numbers. So I have this deep thought, what do I do with my life? This deep unsettling thought. I look up, I see the license plate of the car next to me. JTR, my name, those are my initials, 033. I have the wherewithal in this moment while driving. I know, not super safe, don't make a habit of it, but I even pulled out my phone, pulled open the camera part of my phone, took a picture while I was driving because I felt like of all the signs I had gotten, this car, this license plate I felt like a direct sign speaking to me. I mean, here's my name and my number right next to me. And then I thought to myself, what are the odds of this license plate even existing? So, cars, they can't last forever. So maybe in the state of California, the cars that started with the 1, 2, 3 and had the JTR 033, those cars are going to be out because those are really old cars. So maybe the license plate starting with the number 4, 5, and 6 might still be in rotation around the whole state. And how many millions of people live in the state of California? So maybe there's 3 of these license plates that have my name or my initials and my number. There could be 3 of them in rotation in the state of California. And I happen to be driving next to it at a moment of deep significance to me. So I was really, really blown away. And I remember I took a picture, and that night I showed it to my husband, and being the skeptic he is and being the very kind of black, white, linear minded thinking that he has, I showed him the picture and he's like, okay, I even have to believe this because I know you're not making this shit up. Like I couldn't be crazy, right? This was just, to me, divine intervention. But not only did it feel like a sign, and I didn't know what the sign meant yet, but to me it was, again, all about awareness. I could have been driving and that car could have been next to me and I could have not paid attention. I could have kept focused straight ahead with, my eyes not open to the peripheral. But I am always open to seeing everything around me. Not in a distracted way that I can't see what's in front of me, but my vision is just, it's wide open. And this is what I started attributing these signs to, was I being aware? So I remember a couple days later, and this was now like in August. So I remember I've been 33 now since January. This was now in August. I remember going to my therapist, and it was after the cruise and it was after the license plate incident. And I've been going to my therapist this whole time. And I went to him and I was telling him about the table number at the restaurant on the ship and the license plate. And I said to him, I just can't believe it. These 33s are just constant. I'd been telling him about this for months. So he says to me, well, you know what 33 means, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know what it meant. And he said, go look it up. That's all he told me. Apparently he had known this whole time and he just chose not to share this information with me. So anyhow, I remember leaving there and actually I had an appointment and I was sitting on my phone waiting. And I looked up, what does the number 33 mean? Well, I have to say, I was blown away. I knew nothing really of numerology at that point, but every number has a meaning. And within numerology, there are 3 master numbers, 11, 22, and 33. And 33 is the highest of the 3 master numbers. So as it turns out, and being Jewish, I did not know this, but 33 was the age that Jesus was when he died and resurrected. So there are many religious, social, cultural, and then also some cosmic and numerology meanings around what 33 means, which is it's the number representing a higher level of consciousness. It's the completion of one phase and the initiation into another. Well, I was blown away. And all of a sudden, it really fit why I was seeing these 33s with such regularity. And so then I had to decide, well, what do I want to do about it? And that took a long time for me to figure out. But what I will tell you is it's been 8 years since then. And over the past 8 years, I have seen that car, that license plate, the 6 JTR 033 license plate, probably, and I'm not over-exaggerating, at least 10 to 12 times. And I would say every single one of the times I have seen this car has been at moments of significance for me. At moments where I was stuck, at moments I was questioning, what do I do? At moments of, I need a sign. I'm not even kidding. And sometimes those moments weren't even conscious, I need a sign. It was just that felt sense in my body, something wasn't right, and I needed to figure out what to do about something. But most importantly, I had the awareness to notice it. And 2 of the times I was on the freeway, actually in almost the exact same spot when I saw it on the freeway. So when I tell you I'm aware, I am very aware, but I also chose to start being more aware when I needed to be. When life was simple, when it was smooth, when it was easy, I didn't have as much need for awareness. For many years, I was fine just going along, what was next, not paying attention. But it was really when I got the rumblings deep in my core that something was off, that I knew I had to start increasing my awareness. And it was years after that I started a heart-opening practice where I really physically embodied a posture of being open, of asking and receiving, of speaking to the universe. I am open to receive what you have to offer, and then being really clear on what it was I was wanting to bring in. I didn't have that practice yet. At this time, all I knew was I needed help, and I didn't know where to turn to. And then the universe just started to provide. So I have seen the number 33 with so much frequency over the past 8 years, but it does continue to ebb and flow. And there'll be times, or there'll be months, or even a few years at a time where I hardly notice it at all. And that's not to say I'm not paying attention or that I'm not being aware. It's not very strong in those moments. And I think it's because I don't need it to be. And I notice that if there's anything of transition, or if I'm struggling through something, that tends to be the time when I see the 33 more. And, it's not like I'm really sitting on my couch just waiting to look up, waiting at the 30-minute or the 31. Okay, now I'll look up and now it's at 33. When I say it's organic, it really, really is. And so how did I interpret all this? Once I discovered what the numerology definition of 33 meant, and once I became really comfortable in understanding how that related to me, because I really felt like I had to make a change. And the fact of it being a higher level consciousness was really what I felt like I was experiencing. I was awakening and I was becoming aware, and I was just beginning to be open to learning what mindfulness and meditation was. This was all at the same time in my life. And so it really, really felt... it really just felt like the timing was spot on for me to learn more about myself, pay more attention, be more aware. And how I interpreted the signs was ultimately every single sign the universe was giving me was about paying attention. And so I want to ask you, how open are you? Do you pay attention to what's going on around you? Do you pay attention to the messages your body's telling you by the way that you feel in your gut? Do you look for signs around you? Do you ask the universe or God, if you're religious, do you ask, give me signs? And then if you do ask for those signs, what do you do when you get them? Because for me, when I started receiving these signs, it was a sign for me to slow down. It was a sign for me to meditate. It was a sign for me just to sit and let the thoughts and the chatter in my mind slow down so I could actually tune in to my body, to my inner truth, to what the messages my body was trying to help me filter out all that excess noise and minutia and details and shoulds and expectations. And so every time I received these signs, it really was another reminder to pay attention to myself, not just what's around me. But I also interpreted the number 33, and I still interpret this now when I see it, that I'm on the right path. That if I've been questioning something, if I'm not sure, and the 33s in my life start popping up, I take a nice sigh of relief, and it's almost like I can sit back in some comfort in my own decisions, knowing, okay, I'm doing the right thing. This is my higher consciousness speaking to me. This is me being on the right path. And, whenever I tell this story, people always say, oh my God, I always see different sequence of numbers, or there's always a certain, whether I see 11s, those are really, really common ones. So if you're curious about it, go look it up. Go see what the sequence of numbers that you're seeing means, because I will be pretty sure to guarantee you're going to find deep connection to the meaning of it. And for me, the 33s, at first I just saw it as a pattern. And until I really understood what it meant, I didn't quite take it to the fullest extent. And, the light going on and my number 33, those two things were major, I don't even know what to say, just awarenesses to help shift my life to get it to where it is now. I know this may sound silly, but I think it's true, and I will say there's a good chance I would have not made the decision to get divorced had I not gone through my light going on and seeing the 33s. Those two things were that significant in my life at a moment of deep transition, at a moment of deep discord in my own self, a moment of needing to make a decision and really tune into what wasn't right. And it was really, even before deciding whether or not to get divorced, it was a decision on just who am I? And that moment of awareness, of awakening, of paying attention. And those two things were single-handedly what put me on my path to where I am now. It gave me the confidence to trust in myself, to trust in what was around me, to trust in my higher wisdom, to trust in my deep senses in my body, my intuition, and to continue to pay attention and to continue to be aware. And, I reiterate this over and over and over again because I think it's just that important. I've said before that the way I define mindfulness is awareness, attention, and intention. Because without those three things, you're not really living your life. You're not really being present if you're not being aware and you're not paying attention and you're not having the intention to know, why am I doing what I'm doing? So again, if you take any, journal prompts from these episodes, if you are trying to relate any of this back to your own life, be curious. What do you need? What sign of the universe or from God do you need to help you know if you're on your path? What would your awareness really look like? How well are you paying attention to what's going on, not just in front of you, but around you? And how might your life start to shift if you increase that awareness? And so if you need help in figuring things out, increase that awareness and then slow down and listen and pay attention to what you're seeing. And be really curious about it. And I will also say, I don't attribute everything to this because I know it's not a science, but to me, it's brought me enough comfort that it's become very deep and meaningful to me. And so some of you might be like, okay, this is super hokey. I don't believe in any of this crap. I'm not that spiritual, or I don't believe in synchronicities like this. But I really can't make this shit up. And when I saw that license plate, that was really like, okay, the universe is talking directly to me. So I will leave you with this. I remember one day scrolling through Facebook and seeing this great, meme, and it said, if this is the sign you're waiting for, this is it. Now go big. So if listening to this episode today helped you align with some sign you've been waiting for, this is it. So go big. Go take this as your sign. You're on the right path. You're not listening to this today by any accident, and the time is now.
To continue your journey forward, find Joree Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat. Visit her at joreerose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.